Hey, what's up guys, it's Marv and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video. Today the winter update, or actually yesterday the winter update launched, and it's a really big update. We finally got a new track. It's based off of OSAKA and it is called OSAKA, and that was well, really interesting because I wasn't expecting it this soon. But also we got, I believe, 7 in total new cars. The cars that I talked about in the last video are all in this update, but we also got new cars which I wasn't expecting. However, a couple of you guys did comment in the comment section of that last video, and I think you guys also got some of those cars correct as well that I didn't include in that video. So the first car we have here is the Nissan Leaf Nismo RC, and it's in D class right next to the Camaro LT and the 370Z Nismo. So two Nissans right next to each other, very interesting. But what you'll notice about this car in particular is that the top speed is 220 kilometers per hour. And that is the lowest top speed in the entire game. So we'll definitely have to see how this car performs. I assume the other statistics should make up for its low top speed. But yeah, definitely very interesting to say the least. The next car we have is actually one that was really requested by a lot of you guys, and the car that you guys told me about in the last video that I did not include, and that is the Mazda Fiore. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is the D-Class King in terms of statistics. Not sure how it actually will perform. It has very low nitro, kind of similar to the TVR Griffith, and actually if you look at the statistics, it has a lower top speed but a higher acceleration, but the handling is pretty much almost identical. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this performs compared to the TVR Griffith, but I'm not sure if it'll be a new king, more or less just on the same level as the TVR Griffith. So the next car we have here is the one I talked about, or one of the ones I talked about in my last video, and that is the Ford Shelby GR1, and it is in C class. Now, it's not the king of C class, it's actually right next to the Pininfarina H2 Speed and the Viper ACR, so nothing super spectacular, but we'll definitely have to see how this holds up against those two cars. The stats look fairly even compared to the other cars in its class. The top speed is actually almost identical to the Viper at its max spec, so yeah, I'm thinking that this will have a bit better top speed than the Viper, but a bit worse, you know, acceleration, handling, and nitro. But again, we'll definitely have to see how this car performs compared to the others. But I'm glad to see that Game Loft is adding not king cars to the game, so like cars that lots of people will be able to unlock and play with, and it's not just going to be the king every single time. So the next car we have here is the Ital Design Zero Uno. Thank you very much to Casual Gamer who commented in my last video, who told me how to pronounce that correctly. And yeah, so it is a sort of mid-range B-class car. It's next to the Ferrari 488 GTB and the Cadillac CN Concept, and right off the bat, none of these stats really stand out in particular. The only thing that is interesting to note is that the nitro is below 40, so probably going to be one of those cars where the top speed and acceleration make up for its lack of nitro. But yeah, we'll definitely have to see how this car compares to the other B-class cars, as it really isn't a king. And again, I kind of like that they're adding these sort of non-king cars to the game just to make things a bit more interesting and just add more variety to the game. So we'll definitely have to see how this balances compared to some of the other B-class cars. And next up, we have another car I discussed in the last video, the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, and there's actually an event going on right now, and I'll put gameplay of this as well, where you can actually drive the Chevrolet Corvette on the new track, which is very interesting, for free. Of course, you gotta use the tickets, but it is a free try event, which is really nice. And yeah, so this sits right next to the VLF Force 1 V10 and the Ferrari 812 Superfast, and right off the bat, the stats are almost identical to the Ferrari 812 Superfast, so not sure how this car is really going to be compared to the 812 Superfast. The nitro is a bit worse, so this is definitely going to be interesting. Another one of those cars where it almost seems like just a duplicate of a car right next to it, but again, we'll have to kind of wait and find out. I played with it, and overall it feels like a, you know, a generic A-class car, but again, I'm glad that, you know, that it's in the game and whatnot. Finally, or actually not finally, second to last, we have one car that I actually did not know about, and none of you guys actually seemed to comment this, so definitely a surprise for all of us, is the A-Class Tech Rules 1896 track version, and it is right next to the Genti Aquilon, so it is the A-Class king in terms of statistics. Again, in practice, we're not sure quite yet, But the most interesting thing about this car is definitely its acceleration. It seems to be pretty high for its base stat, and the nitro is pretty low, and the top speed is fairly mediocre, kind of around the same as most other A-class cars. So this car is definitely going to be one where it gets better extremely well as you upgrade it, so this will definitely be interesting. This is, however, the first non-S class car to require a key, so yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see. One thing that I do want to note is that Gameloft did confirm on their Discord that there will only be one key car during the next Drive Syndicate, so it's either going to be the Tech Rules 1896 or the next car, which I'll talk about right now, which is the new Rimac C2. Yeah, it's actually the S-Class King, which is very interesting. I was not expecting them to add another S-Class King after the Jesco so early on, but this one also does require a key, and the best thing going for this car is definitely its acceleration. It has a base stat of 82, so when people thought the Pininfarina Battista was the acceleration king, they just got blown out of the water by this car right after the Pininfarina was released, which was very funny. Now, the nitro is actually pretty garbage at only 37.62, so the acceleration is definitely the sort of main point of this car, but again, we'll definitely have to see how it compares to the Pininfarina when it is officially released. So those are the 7 new cars in the game. Definitely a lot of variety. Unfortunately, no Audis in the game quite yet, but hopefully the Audi TT RS will win the D-Class poll that is going on right now. I'm really hoping they add the TT RS. It is one of my favorite cars of all time. So next up, I just want to quickly talk about the new track OSAKA. Just a couple first impressions. There is actually a couple of new career events that you can play on the new track, which is really interesting. One of which is actually very easy because it mostly requires D-Class cars, so pretty much everyone will be able to complete that event. It is in the first season of the career. However, the second event in career does require the Mazda Fiore at the 3rd race, so you won't be able to continue until that car is released. However, nonetheless, you can still play the new track on a couple of different cars, which is very nice. And again, if you just were kind of bored and wanted to do something in career, now's your chance to try out the new track as well. So overall, I really am enjoying the new track. There are a lot of parts that are very twisty, but there are also a lot of parts that are really good for high top speed, low nitro cars. So it'll be very interesting to see how this track sort of fares, not only in the competitive space, but also in multiplayer. A lot of the parts are very thin, though, so multiplayer I think is just going to be pretty chaotic. But nonetheless, the main thing I want to talk about, though, is this track looks absolutely beautiful. This is what I wanted to see from an Asphalt 9 track. It just looks absolutely amazing, from the trees all the way to the buildings and then the car manufacturing area. It just looks absolutely amazing. And not only that, I wanted them to take advantage of the physics that they have, and they actually did. And they have some parts on the track where it's kind of like a half pipe, which is very awesome. And overall, I think the track is very fun. Obviously, nobody really knows it very well yet. Everyone's still kind of learning, but nonetheless, it is still very fun to learn a new track. And again, it looks absolutely stunning. So let me know what you guys think of the new update in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.